and guests of the Norman Rotary Club on this lovely, drizzly Thursday, January 30th. I'm so glad to see so many lovely faces, and it's really great to see the room so full. Thank you for all of you for coming. We start our meetings to join a moment in silent reflection. I'd like for you to think about those that are less fortunate than us today, especially those that are sick, that we have full hospitals in Norman area and around Oklahoma, with lots of people fighting for to overcome some sickness. Also think about those fighting for their lives in California with all those fires, and the ones that lost their lives in the plane crash last night. Please take a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll start our meeting with the flag salute from Joan Harrison and our four-way test from Linda. Please join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
You may be seated. We have a few guests here today. So Stephen Price is going to help us with that. Thank you, Stephen.
Well, if I can find them. Look, there's Kyle.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Nancy. She just moved to Norman last summer. She's a former Air Force officer. Her husband is a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. She's a published children's author, and now she's my legal assistant at my law firm.
Children's author. We'll have to talk to you. I'll tell you why later. Okay.
I've already given her some heads up on that.
Okay, all right. Hi, Ron.
I'd like to introduce my wife again. This is her second time visiting a guest, Deborah.
And then we have Susan Lamont. Great, thank you.
Okay. This is the last week for these girls, and they've been outstanding. We're so glad that you joined us. This is the last week of life today. Just tell us a little bit about your impressions of the club and also of Rotary. Since you've been here. This is Jamie.
Thank you. As you know, I'm going to OU, and I just think having this opportunity to come to this club and see the community that you've built through serving your community has been really inspiring to me, I guess, because I'm planning on definitely being involved with planning events and different philanthropies at OU, but this has kind of showed me the importance of finding community service that I can be a part of, and also through being Rotary Interact at high school, it's definitely showed me the community that is here that I'm able to be a part of, and then seeing how the adult club is, the friendships y'all have, it's just been really inspiring to me to have this opportunity to see that and show me what is possible for me in the future. Thank you.
First of all, y'all have really good food. But anyways, I feel like I've learned a lot just by coming to the sessions, even though my first one got snowed out. But hearing about your guest speakers, the NIL information and just personality types and what we have on the board for today, it's just been pretty eye-opening to some of the things going on just around here in our community, things that people are doing. But most of all, I feel like it's really cool to see that you guys are all really a tight, woven group, and have always been super welcoming and open to talk to me and Jamie and just make us feel like a part of the family. Thank y'all.
Thank you both for being here every week. We appreciate it, and it's great to have interaction with you with our other club members. And then Craig Keaton. Where are you, Craig?
Sorry, I'll be mouthful.
All right.
We are giving away books tomorrow and next Friday, and I think we have all those taken care of. We are having our book fair 14th and 15th, and there's still some days to volunteer for that. If you want to go out and sign up to use them, that's how last week. Thanks.
Just wait, real quick. If people weren't here last week and you told them about the book fair, just let people know why the book fair is so important and what we do with it.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. The book fair helps us raise money to buy the books, and we provide gift cards from our public schools. We get a percentage of the sales. That we do basically when people come in, we just have to give them a bookmark and ask them to present that to the cashier when they check out, and then they're seeing that total sales over those 2 days.
Great, yes. It's very easy to do. It's not hard. Most people will take the bookmark right in their hand. You just get to let them know that we're with Norman Rotary Club and we're partnering with the Norman Public Schools to help with literacy. And people turn it in when they check out, and it's as simple as that. Really, it's out of our hands as soon as we hand them that bookmark to work for us. So that's a great way for us to earn dollars to be able to give back to our students in our community. With no further ado, I'll have Bill Bloom come up here, please.
Thank you. Hey, would the immediate past president of the Rotary, Norman Rotary Club, please come up. Rob Andrew.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, okay, you can't talk today. Okay, you're off this. So we're gonna talk some Rotary Foundation. And when somebody like Rob contributes to the Rotary Foundation, that money, again, sits in an account for 3 years for the administrative costs, then 100% of that money goes to a project of the Rotary Foundation. Since we've been talking about literacy, guests, in our program, let's do basic education and literacy. I'll tell you how the money, how this whole thing happens. Let's take Guatemala. They've got this long-term reading program there. And the way it started was most Guatemalan kids, a couple of years in, they don't read, they drop out, and then you know what happens when you're out of school. Nothing good. So there were 2 volunteers from Ohio 25 years ago, Rick and Rob Behringer, Joe and Jeff Behringer, I don't remember. And they were helping with this school, and they didn't have any books, so they got a program, they got books in, and then the books showed up, the kids were excited, they started celebrating, making noise. Well, there was a dentist, as you know how we are. Thank you, yes, absolutely. Yeah, so anyway, he was in town doing a mission, and he heard the commotion, goes over there and sees what's going on. They told him about the books. And so he goes, he's a Rotarian dentist, even better, right? The double thing. So he goes, that'd be a good Rotary project. So his club joined with a club in Guatemala. This is how this stuff happens. Somebody sees a vision, and so for 25 years this has been going on. And of course, one of the men that volunteers joined Rotary, so their club got involved in it. And they've had over 42 grants. They're all reading. Of course, it's expanded into computers and everything else. But the cool thing about it is the foundation started it, but it continues because they charge a rent on the books to the kids. So when the books need replacing, they've got the money. So that's how the Rotary Foundation does projects around the world. And so, Rob Andrew, you help with that. You continue to contribute to the Rotary Foundation. So I want to give you your honor, because you are a Paul Harris Plus 4. That's 5 times you've done this, ladies. Congratulations.
I will depart stage
Oh, no, photo.
Oh, photo.
Yes.
Photo.
Yeah. Good job.
And you're even a real doctor.
He doesn't just play one on TV.
I've seen
And
that movie.
that is very special. Congratulations, Rob. That's wonderful. Thank you for all you do for giving to the foundation. If anybody has questions about that, you can also ask Bill or myself or anyone in the leadership in our club, and we can tell you more about it. I'd love to talk about it more and more, but with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Stephen Karenga to introduce our wonderful speaker, Rennie today. Thank you so much.
All right, no pressure, you already got wonderful. How about that? Yeah. How many of you are leading with peace? Do you remember that from last year? I gotta get the exact. So we were challenged last year to affect Norman, our workplaces, and our families by bringing peace with our purpose, people, place, provision, and personal health. Y'all remember that last year? Okay, good. Well, I wanted to figure out what this year's challenge is, and so I called Rennie and I said, "Why don't you come back?" And he said, "I'd gladly come back." He's a coach through the Triumph team and coaches in part the leadership team at NPS, and so Nick can tell you all day long all the great things that Rennie does and how he helps just a small part of Norman Public Schools. But I'm delighted to introduce again this year Rennie Cook.
All right, well, good to see everybody this afternoon, and thank you again for inviting me. You know, when you're invited to a place the first time, it's kind of a privilege, but when you're invited to a place the second time, it's like an honor. And clearly, some of my friends in the room did not know who the speaker was today, or you would have found a reason not to be here. But I do appreciate it. Good to see my friend Tyler LaRue, who I have a deep love and admiration for. That is only over. There's only probably one person in the room who my love and admiration for Tyler LaRue exceeds, and that's for Dr. Miglorino. The other day my wife and I just got back from a trip, and I said, I just need to tell Stacy, I don't know my wife Stacy, I just need to tell her how much I appreciate the time that we had to get away, just be together. We work together all the time, we business, we have lots of good businesses, and I'm traveling a lot. We have 2 teenage daughters, and life's busy, and so the importance of being able to get away with your spouse and just get together and enjoy one another is rare. I sent her this beautiful text. I sent it, and I'm like, I'm a pretty good husband. I recognize I'm a great husband, and my wife has to appreciate the love that I'm sharing with her and communicating her. Just 30 seconds later, I get a quick response. It says, "I love you too." It's from Dr. Miglorino. Anyone ever sent a text to the wrong person before? Yeah, so if you're looking at a string of texts that Dr. Miglorino and I have been sharing over the last week, you can have a lot of questions about us. But Dr. Nick, you did complete me. But it is good to be back, and it's good to see a lot of friendly faces. We do live in a world that's changing. Has anyone experienced some change lately? Not just the change I'm talking about from the last week or so, right? But the change that we've been experiencing over the last several years. And one of the things I want to talk to you about today is how technology is changing the way that is forcing us to lead a different way. talking about how technology is putting us in a position where we really have to lead in a different way because the way we're connecting people with people is so different. How many of you remember, I remember when I first started my career, they were just starting email at OU. Right? I was just starting my career, and one of the first supplies they gave me as a young professional at the University of Oklahoma was a Rolodex. Because that was going to be very important. You know, my Rolodex was really small. It maybe held 250 cards, because I was just a rookie. And you know, I'd go visit someone like Paul Masson, who I'm sure many of you know, and his Rolodex that he had in his office looked like, you know, the wheel on The Price is Right. I was just like, how do you know so many people, right? And we had Rolodexes back then, and they were starting to talk about this thing called email, and everyone was scared of email. I'm still scared of email, but for different reasons. But a friend of mine said this, technological breakthroughs have always changed the way the world works. You look at, you can look at, 30 years ago, email changed the way we worked. And maybe you were the kind of person that embraced it. How many of you are people who embraced that change? You remember being excited about it. Yeah, you guys are what we call early adapters, right? And then some of you are like really slow to it. Really slow to it. You're like, I'm not opening an email account until someone forces me to. I'm a small town kid from northeastern Oklahoma in Bonita. I did not get a cell phone until I was forced to get a cell phone. Because I thought, I'm just not going to be connected all the time. How many of you wish you didn't have to be connected all the time? Right? But you know, it's not just the new things that are happening. I mean, throughout history, technological breakthroughs have changed the way we work and changed the way we lead. The first was the printing press. 1440 by Gutenberg. You guys tell me, how do you feel this piece of technological change changed the way we work? The printing press. Yes, ma'am. Readers. Right? Now we're starting to share information on paper, and people need to learn to read. Right? We have readers, and there's now this big gap between people who knew how to read and those who didn't. And you guys just talked about the importance of reading. Well, if you don't have a printing press, reading is not very important. And then we had this rotary system engine in 1775 that Watt created, the industrial age, where machines started doing work for us. Now, how do you think that changed the way we work? Think safety became a consideration? Do you think, factory lines and how people work and creating those efficiencies started to change an agrarian society? And I imagine in those times, there were people who are like, I'm not going to use it. You can't tell me to read. I'm not going to read. I'm not going to work in one of these factories. But the world just changed because as technological advances changed, they had to change with it. World Wide Web. You guys remember the world without the World Wide Web? I mean, what did we do? Right? What did we do without the internet? We worked, right? So the same thing we did without email. We got stuff done. And this is supposed to, and these technological advances are supposed to make it so much more. Here's what they told us. You know what? You'll have more free time. There's actually a study, congressional study that had done in the 1960s that they were talking about what would the world look like? What would the workplace look like in 25, 30, 50 years? And this congressional study came back, and can't remember the name of it, so I apologize. But people said, you know what, in after 2000, people will probably only have to be working 15 to 20 hours a week because how technologically advanced society will be. Oh, that's not true. And so we have a choice when it comes to technology. And right now I'd say that the big choice is the changes that are happening around AI. How many are really excited about AI? A few of you, right? It's really, you get on ChatGPT and see how many of you are like, that scares me to death, right? And so we're all over the place. But the reality is that we have to look at technology and the way it changes the workplace. It changes the way we lead. It changes the way we live. Just in the same way that these folks before us, and in the ways we had to embrace technology in the past, we have to decide how we're going to handle it. Because what have we done? question for you, where are you on this scale? Would you be red, you're that person, like, oh, another technological change? Or are you that person that's excited about it, ready to embrace it? The early adapter that is just ready and waiting for the next version of the iPhone to come out? Or do you still have like the iPhone 3? You can't find anywhere to charge it. See, which organizations do you think are going to thrive? Not just survive, but they're going to truly survive in the new world. Which ones do you think it is? And I think we have to argue. We have to understand that the technology that's happening, we have to embrace. We have to embrace. We can't put it on the shelf as leaders. We can't put it on the shelf as leaders of our organization and leaders of our people, because it's changing the way we work. But there's some challenges around it. And there's 3 big challenges for leaders who are working in the new world. Number 1 is, how do you stay emotionally healthy? Because unfortunately, Congress was not right in the 1960s. I don't know if there's probably many people today that get to work 15 to 20 hours a week. It more looks like 60, 70, 80 or more a week, because we're all connected. This causes physical and intellectual exhaustion because the world and our work never stops. Raise your hand if you feel that stress sometimes. All right? Another challenge that is coming up because of technology and the changes that are happening is that we're having to learn to lead through influence more than positional power and title. And we'll talk about how that's being forced by a talent economy. And then the next one is that building an organizational culture that can attract and retain top talent, because we live in a talent economy where people see that they're talented, they feel like they are free agents and they can always go to this next spot. We have to build an organization that its culture is attractive. People want to be here, and it draws them to them. So there's 3 challenges we're going to talk about today. Number 1 is how to stay emotionally, physically, and intellectually healthy in a world where your work never stops. Anyone feel like they have that figured out? No one? No one has any clue? What do you do? Scotch. I prefer Jameson is our house choice of drink. Not for my daughters, just for my wife and I. They're not young enough, or they're not old enough. But yeah, there's lots of ways that people are trying to handle this. And what we want to realize is that 74%, this is what Gallup reported in 2021, 74% of employees said that they experienced burnout on the job. 62% of adults worldwide say they don't sleep well when they go to bed. Anyone in here, keep your hands down, you don't have to admit it. But do you have trouble sleeping? There's a vibration of your phone at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I don't know why someone would need to text you at 3 o'clock in the morning, or send an email at 3 o'clock in the morning, or spam you at 3 o'clock in the morning, but does that wake you up? Globally, people spend on average 7 hours on their screens. That's not a teenage factor, that's an adult factor. On screens. Now that's not just your mobile phone screen. Think about how much time you spend in front of your computer screen. And while happiness has increased globally up until 2011, so this is way pre-COVID, it has been falling ever since, based on the World Happiness Report that came out in 2022. So people would say, well, of course we weren't as happy since COVID. Well, this is going back to 2011, way pre-COVID, 9, 10 years before COVID. The happiness factor of our society dropped. Why? Think we're stressed? Do we think we're spending too much time at work? Do you think that possibly we're spending too much time on screens? Because I believe that we're wired for this interpersonal relationship to truly connect with people. And while we are the most connected generation in the history of the world, guess what also has increased in this world? Loneliness. So one of the things we talk about is how do you manage your work? And in the world of John, we talk about this in 6 different ways. And real quickly, I'm going to share them with you. And I want you to think about which gear do you spend the most time in. My wife thinks this is a very confusing tool because she has never driven a standard in her life. She said her dad tried to teach her how to drive a standard, instead her dad taught her how to cuss. But most of us, I mean, fifth gear at the very top is like focus mode. Like you're dialed in. Like you're in your office and the door's closed and you're on this project and you're focused on it and you're just killing it. How many of you like to spend some time uninterrupted on focus mode? I mean, Rick, like you're putting specs to the building together. I mean, you're just like, no one's interrupted. I mean, that's some sweet time, right, Rick? I mean, that's some creative time. You can get some stuff done in that time. How many of you would love more time in fifth gear? How many of you know you don't spend enough time in fifth gear, right? Fourth gear is task mode. Task mode is when you're like multitasking, you're bouncing through some things, you're just trying to get some proverbial poo done. You know what I'm talking about? You're just getting it done. You're just moving it along. This is what happens when Stacy says, hey, I'll be home in about 30 minutes. And I round up my daughters and say, hey, listen, you guys got about 30 minutes till the boss gets home. So I suggest you clean up this, clean up this, clean up this, clean up this, because all the fitting from anyone, but not your mama. And these girls get in fourth gear and they start cleaning up. Backpacks disappear, shoes disappear, pom-poms disappear. It's like the trail that they created when they came in is vanished upstairs because they got in fourth gear and they got some stuff done. Highly busy, but not always productive. How many of you feel like you spend a lot of time in that? Just bouncing, checking the box, checking the box. Now, third gear is a great gear. Third gear is social mode. You know what? Many of you guys come here on, Thursday, have lunch with your fellow Rotary Club members. You have some what? You have some third gear time. You get to socialize, you get to check in with your friends, check in with colleagues, see how things are going, advance the cause of the organization. And how many of you, you're already paying because you're here, how many of you enjoy third gear? Social time. How many wish you got to spend more time in third gear? Right. But what gear dominates you? Fourth gear? Then there's second gear. That's connect mode. That is that time where you're just with people, really listening, really connecting. Like Nick and I had that afternoon in our text message. Just having that moment together where we share how we feel about each other. We listen to one another. And we complete one another. But you spend time really connecting with people, listening to them, having conversations, growing their relationship, where real relationships are really developed, where iron sharpens iron. You're better because you share lunch with someone. How many wish you could spend more time intentionally in second gear? Anyone? Yeah. There's friends that you haven't connected with in a while. There's friends you haven't had coffee with in a while, maybe even family members. And maybe the decision you need to make today is, you know what, I need to spend some time intentionally. Mark it on my calendar before my calendar's engulfed by all this email and all this fourth gear stuff. I need to make some intentionality on my calendar to go have lunch with Tom Cooper because I've known him since I was in high school and I need to catch up with him. And then there's first gear, which none of us spend enough time. It's where we recharge and we rest. You guys know what those words mean? Recharge. I'm going to sit right here. I don't think it's going to make a difference, but I'm going to try. But you rest. You know that one of the secrets of high performance in any athletic realm, you know what athletes have to do? Rest. They have to. They have to rest to take care of the body, take care of the mind. And if you, in here, want to perform at a high level, guess what you must do? It's a discipline of rest. But the challenges of the technological world we live in today, what? We're always connected to this darn thing. I have it in my hand right now for one reason. I'm watching the time. You know what it's done about 20 times since it's been up here on this podium? Buzz. It's hard to rest. You talk to any mental health professional, and they'll tell you the importance of stopping and resting. But in this world that has created more access to us, what do we feel like we have to do? We have to respond when? Now. And we can say it's other people's fault, but the reality at the end of the day, when you send a text message to your friends and they don't respond in 5 minutes, how do you feel?
Hate them.
Yes! We're part of the problem. Well, I deserve rest, but you should respond immediately. Right? Sometimes I have to text message people and say, hey, hold on just a second. I'm in that meeting you asked me to be in. Can I get back with you? Sometimes, here's what it is. We are overproductive and underpresent. We're overproductive and underpresent because your best ability ability as a leader is your availability with your people. Your best ability, truly, your best ability as a leader, professionally, here in Rotary, at home, wherever you are, is your availability to connect with people. And our productivity often hurts our presence with people. You know what my daughters want me to be with them? Present. You know what my wife wants me to be with them? Present. You know what my clients want me to be with them when I'm with them? Do they want me working on my phone, or do they want me to be what? Present. There's actually an interesting study that Simon Sinek did, that he just walked around in a presentation with his phone in his hand. Never looked at his phone, never did anything with his phone, but he simply had his phone in his hand, and he walked around, and he did a study, and he asked participants afterwards about it, and they felt that he was not present with them. And he's like, what in the world? I'm here, I'm looking at you, I'm telling stories about my love for Nick, how am I not present with you? But this right here conveys the message to people. What does it convey?
Preoccupied.
Something more important than you coming. And I'm waiting for something more important. I'm talking to you now, but if this buzzes, I'm going to look at it. Why do people feel lonely? Why do people feel disconnected, burned out? They don't feel like they have relationships in the workplace? Because as leaders, we're being overproductive and underpresent, and we're not realizing that our best ability is our availability. First year is foundational to all the other years. How this year are you going to stop and rest? Because some of you are burned out. You know why I know that? Because 74% of people say they're burned out. All of us, I'd be willing to bet at some point in the face they felt burnout. And here's the truth about life. You can't give what you don't have. So I'm here and I'm dying of thirst. And no matter how much you want to help me, if you don't have water, you're no good to me. You try to pour from an empty pitcher, you can't give anything. You have to stop and rest. How can you take care of yourself and rest this next year? So why? So you can pour into other people. Or you pouring from an empty pitcher. Because the people in this room, I know that you're here because you care about your community, you care about other people, but you can't give what you don't have. So challenge number 2 is learning to lead through influence more than position and power. The new generation that's coming up, and even society as a whole, how much do you see in society people constantly questioning and challenging power and positions? And the question I have for you is not is whether you're, in fact, are you a leader? My question for you is, are you a leader worth following? Are you the kind of person that people raise their hand and say, I want to be on Kyle's team. I want to figure out a way to lock arms with Kyle and kind of team up. I want to be on Charlie's team. Or are you the kind of person people feel like they have to be? You know what you call the people that you have to let lead you? It's a 4-letter word, begins with B and ends with 2 S's. Boss. Is anyone excited about having a boss? Is anyone excited about being a boss? And the challenge is to be a leader worth following. See, the world is now too complicated for anyone to have all the answers. Guess what? Let me take the burden off of you. You no longer, as a leader in society today, people expect you to have all the answers. Take the burden off yourself. High-performing teams are more valuable than talented individuals. For a long time, organizations worked in a fashion that was kind of like a high school golf team. You know, you got your 5 best sticks, and you put them out on the golf course, and they played an individual game, and they came back, and the collective was their score. That means that what you did in your 18 didn't really affect the team, but the collective came together. But right now, what we're seeing is that the real value is in how the collective comes together. It's not a golf team, it's a basketball team. 5 people working together to realize that what the point guard does affects what the center does. And the average team, 82% of people do not feel truly heard, valued, and appreciated. What do you think that means? How would it feel to come to work every day and not feel valued, appreciated, or even heard? See, there's something worse than people actually quitting your job and leaving your workplace. You know what it is? It's staying and being totally disengaged. Relational intelligence is becoming more and more important than IQ. Because if you've ever been around someone who lacked total, look at me, do not look at anyone in the room, look at me. They lack total self-awareness. Have you ever been around that person? Look at me, do not look at anyone else. Someone came to mind, didn't they? They lack total self-awareness, total others awareness, total emotional intelligence as well. And here's what happens, is your goal as a leader should be the healthiest person in the room. When you walk in a room, here's what your goal is. You have nothing to prove, nothing to lose, nothing to hide. Have you ever been around that leader that felt like they had something to prove? What was that like?
Where?
Have you ever been around that leader that you knew they're kind of posturing, and you felt like they had something to hide? Or maybe they were trying to prove something. See, we call these walls of self-preservation because you're trying to protect yourself and not make yourself look bad. And in the challenge of this world that is dying for connection, guess what they want to feel with their leader? Guess what they want to feel with their leader? Connection. We walk around and posture ourselves because we feel like we have to know it all. Last one I want to show you is challenge number 3, is building an organizational culture that can attract and retain top talent. You know, here's 4 interesting facts. Competition for top talent is now global. Just people can sit at home, and guess where they can work? Anywhere in the world. Replacing a full-time employee typically costs an organization, Gallup reported this in 2022, either about 50% of their salary, except 2 times their salary. Have you ever tried to replace an employee that left? Was that easy? Did it cost you something? Toxic company culture is the main reason people leave. So guess what your job as a leader is to protect your culture. And finally, low employee engagement costs the global economy. Remember those people who don't leave, they just stay and they're not engaged? They just fill the seat, keep it warm. Thank you, I'll pay you to keep my seat warm. $7.8 trillion. Who's responsible for that? Leaders. See, it's our responsibility to create cultures that are like greenhouses. You know what happens in a greenhouse? Growth. Plants thrive. But here's what can't happen in the cultures that you're creating. And in this world that's always changing, the environment's always changing, you're trying to figure out how can I create growth, how can I make sure people are thriving, how can I make sure people are happy. Here's what you can't do. In 2023, in 2024, and now in 2025, I'm going to challenge you to this. You're not taking care of yourself as a leader. You're not as healthy as you possibly can be. You're not rested. You're not taking care of your health. And you're not taking care of your people by making sure that your best ability is your availability to do that. Because the thing they want more than anything in this world is more connections. Then you might have a greenhouse effect that's toxic. And it's killing your people. And they might leave. So where's the change start? They always say right there. So what do you need to do this year? Become more of a leader with all. Take a nap. Thank you for allowing me to go today.
Don't take it down until after 1 o'clock. Got 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Rennie. That's very inspiring and eye-opening about those challenges. We do know we're very aware of some of those. I am, at least. And social media stuff just sucks me in. Okay, well, we had a great meeting today. Thank you very much again to Rennie for coming. Thank you to Jesse and Jamie, our student of the month. We appreciate y'all's interaction. Please feel free to call Lisa, she had to leave early. I saw her have to leave out. But and Deborah, thanks for coming back. We appreciate having you here. It's also great to see several Rotarians we might not have seen in a while. So we really appreciate it. If you came more regularly, somebody wouldn't call you out. It wasn't me, I just said, there's others in the room that haven't been here in a minute. So, but I enjoy seeing each and every one of you every week, and thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next Thursday. Somebody